Peptides are powerful and often misunderstood.
And we're here to change that one conversation at a time.
I'm Dr. Kylie Burton.
And I'm Jessica Bricky.
This is Pep Talk. Peptides Unpacked. Science made simple, results made real. All right, Jess, on the conversation today is PT141, the
hmm
thrill pill, and the ELATE nasal spray. What are the difference between those three?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked me that question because I got a call from somebody last week, this specific thing. And I realized even though we've done a lot of podcasting and talking about it, we need to tie it up nice and pretty and put them all together in one thing. So, um, I just want to go over briefly what each one is, and then I'll do a brief comparison at the end. So, the first option in peptide that we have is our PT141 injection, which is a peptide that works in the brain. It's activating the melanocortin receptors. It's a network that regulates motivation and arousal. So it's increasing desire, but it's not increasing blood flow. So what that means is the brain's more receptive to desire. And a lot of people assume that low libido means low testosterone. I know that I did. That's one of the things that I started a year ago when I started my HRT journey was assuming that if I brought my testosterone levels, that would change for me too. And yes, testosterone definitely plays a role, but libido is not just a hormone number, it's also this signaling network. So you can increase your testosterone, but if stress, inflammation, menopause, or even something that we don't even think talk a lot about, SSRIs like antidepressants, mood stabilizers, they're blunting the brain's arousal signaling. So you can raise your testosterone, but nothing with regard to motivation and libido will change. So it's a signaling issue, but not necessarily a hormone storage shortage. Chronic stress, like elevated cortisol, it's going to suppress the sexual signaling because when the brain thinks that you're in survival mode, reproduction, which is ultimately biologically why we get to it, right? It doesn't prioritize reproduction because the body doesn't feel safe. So again, another example where high stress can show on paper that you have a normal lab, even in the functional ranges that you and I talk about a lot, but you'll still have a muted desire. So PT141 helps support that signaling pathway itself. So you might have body reactions with PT41, like after you take it, warming or flushing. That can happen within 30 to 60 minutes of doing that injection, but that doesn't mean that the desire signal is at its strongest point. So the signaling meaning the brain becoming more receptive to desire often is strongest with that one 4 to 6 hours after the injection. And because of that, a lot of people choose to take the injection that many hours prior to a planned intimacy, which I know planned, and we've talked about that in other prior conversations, but that is kind of something that we need to consider here is planning that time for ourselves. So with the PT141, the strongest overall effect is often within that first 24-hour window. And then after that, you might experience a gradual taper over the next 24 to 48 hours following. So sometimes it's just a residual responsiveness, just a little bit. It's not as strong as that first 24 hours. So um, this particular peptide is just not a short 2 hour window where it builds, it peaks, and then gradually softens. This is going to last a little bit longer. So because it's systemic, though, again, those symptoms that you might get from the injection are going to be flushing, nausea, sweating. They're usually temporary and they often resolve within 1 to 4 hours. Now, personally, I prefer a really low, slow microdose approach. So start really small, assess the body's tolerance, and see what those often uncomfortable side effects look like. So you don't want to jump too high too fast because this is about resolving and restoring the signaling and not overwhelming our nervous system. So that's the injection and what it does. Then we can talk about it with our combination nasal spray. So this is a compounded spray that has not only PT141, but it has something called tadalafil and oxytocin. So for decades, I think that most of us would agree the attention has gone to the men, right? Like
Yes,
it's
for
been
sure.
all
100%.
Yeah, it's always gone to the men and their erectile dysfunction. But the thing is that women also experience vascular change too. And the truth is
I think
that
us
blood vessels,
women, we just get told it's hormones. Go fix
right,
your hormones.
exactly.
And
That's
there's so
it.
much more to it.
Yes. Yeah. So blood vessels are blood vessels. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but if there's a circulatory change, then the response is going to change. And it doesn't matter what gender you are, everybody can experience this. And there's varying reasons why we experience this, especially as we age. So tadalafil, which is similar to the FDA-approved drug Cialis, this is a vasodilator. So what that means is it's increasing the nitric oxide and it improves blood flow in the body, including blood flow to the genitals. So that's going to support things like lubrication, engorgement, erectile firmness. It's also going to improve potentially sensitivity and the orgasm intensity. So adequate blood flow allows the tissue in the genitals to swell properly. It allows the nerves to fire correctly and climax to feel stronger and more complete. So a lot of people don't even think about like the intensity of the pinnacle. They think about whether or not I can just perform the act itself, or if I'm a woman that I'm starting to get age and I'm experiencing vaginal dryness, I want to avoid that because it hurts and it's uncomfortable. So this particular part of the nasal spray covers all of that. Performance, the readiness, and the finale, how you're gonna feel. So if somebody says to you, whoever's listening, if somebody's listening and hearing this, or as a practitioner, somebody comes in your office, I want it mentally, but my body's just not responding the same way. That's usually a vascular response. So men will notice it. It's a little more obvious, I think, for men, obviously, because we can notice that their erections are not as firm or reliable. But women may also notice, as I mentioned before, that decreased lubrication. They may have less engorgement or just a very weak, if at all, orgasm. So it's different
I've heard
anatomy,
from a lot of
obviously.
women too. Like it hurts.
That's what yeah, it
They don't
hurts. And
want it.
once it hurts, you're done,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Like
out.
you're out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So different anatomy, but really kind of the same physiology that's happening. So we have those two that first ingredient that's in the nasal spray. Then we have oxytocin, which that is known as kind of the love hormone. It's enhancing feelings of bonding, emotional safety, pleasure amplification. Sexual response is more neurologic and relational, and it's not just mechanical. There's so many components that go into this, and we talked about that a little bit too with Monica. Like it's a safety thing for women. And this oxytocin, well, men too, but in this particular case, I think with women, there's a lot of a safety factor that is involved in opening ourselves up quite literally for somebody to be inside of us. So feeling safe and wanting to bond and that emotional component is really important, and oxytocin can help with that. And then
Hmm.
the third thing that's in this nasal spray is this low dose of the PT141. So the PT141, the injection I just spoke about, we have a low dose of that that's combined into the spray. And then again, that's going to gently support that signaling pathway. So instead of just this strong central push that you get with the injection, you get this signal plus the blood flow and plus the connection with your partner. Now, the onset of this is also significantly different than it is with the injection. With
Yeah.
the nasal spray, it's fast. So you'll see with the nasal spray on the prescription, it usually says 30 to 60 minutes, but the response and the feedback that people are giving is it's faster than that. It can be like 15 to 30 minutes. So it can
Oh,
be prepared, I guess is
after
my
date
point.
night, after
Right?
the date's over to make it all concluded, or after the kids have fallen asleep and you know that they're asleep.
You better just give yourself that window like, oh, we're ready. Let's
Yes.
go. It might take up to an hour, but it could be pretty darn quick. So, but the nasal spray might feel more smooth and more integrated, like as a whole system and how you feel about this. Um, so it's a little bit more situational than the injection, and it's layered in how it's going to support the desire and the physical response, which is a beautiful combination. And then finally, the third option that's available to people is the troche, which is just a fancy name for way to say lozenger. Um, So the
Which means
troche
it just melts in your mouth.
Correct. So it dissolves under the tongue and it's absorbing instead of through the nasal mucosa, it's absorbing in the oral mucosa. So it's the same ingredients that I just spoke about in the nasal spray, the same active ingredients, but the delivery is different. And that also means that because it's going through the oral mucosa, the onset is a little bit different too. So that's a little bit slower. So often with this one, we are probably a little bit more accurately in that 30 to 60 minutes. So where the spray could be like pretty darn quick, like 15 minutes, you might see that 30, 15 to 30 up to 60. This is really going to probably be more 30 to 60. So this one again is different though in the one factor that it's a little more blood flow dominant in the way that this one feels in the body. So more performance focused, even though it's the same active ingredients as that nasal spray, we might feel that this one is a little bit more performance based because of the blood flow, the way that our body is absorbing.
So better sex.
I think better performance for sex and better outcome
Climax.
for sex versus the nasal spray, which is going to have that as well. I really think more maybe blood flow as the man having what he needs to get everything going. I think that that's going to be a bigger component for the trochee, but all of these things are going to be beneficial. What is your delivery method prefer? Some people don't like the idea of squirting something in their nose and they just let something melt in their mouth. It might take a little longer.
What do you mean? I
You
hate
know,
doing the nose thing. Ugh.
and it is kept in the refrigerator, so it's going to feel a
It's
little extra
cold.
cold when you're
Yeah.
doing it. Right. Yes. So just to wrap that all up, all three support sexual function, but they target different primary pathways. So that PT141 injection is primarily going to support the brain signaling. The nasal spray blends desire and signaling with blood flow and the bonding chemistry. And the trochee has all of that, but it is typically a little bit more blood flow dominant and performance focused. So the biggest difference is not just the ingredients, it's really about the delivery. Which system are you primarily supporting? So absorption pathway, injections, systemic, it's primarily central. It's the spray absorbs through the nasal mucosa and helps the central plus the vascular and the trochee under the tongue, and it feels a little bit more vascular dominant. So the timing on all of them a little bit different. All of them can only be used 2 to 3 times a week, any of them.
Yeah. So if I
Um,
were to summarize what you are explaining in short,
yep.
simple terms, the PT141 is the injection. And that
Mhm.
one you're looking at more for like 48 to 72 hours duration.
Yes, with the peak of that 4 to 6 hour window, though. So if you,
Yeah.
let's say it's Saturday night is your date night, and you know that it's going to be a certain time, maybe the kids are to bed or your wind down time, whatever that is, you're going to kind of map that forward and take that injection in the afternoon because your peak signaling is going to be 4 to 6 hours after you take that injection.
And then the lozenge, because it's under the tongue, it's a little bit longer to get to the brain than the nose. So
Yeah.
the thing about under the tongue takes 30 to 60 minutes to get to the brain,
Hmm.
whereas the nose through the ELATE spray, that's pretty quick.
It's pretty darn
15,
quick.
30, maybe 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And then that just helps with D, all the above.
All of the above. Correct. Right. So really the goal for all of them, it's the same, right? Improve sexual function, just different pathway emphasis based on whatever it is that you're named. So it's not about choosing necessarily the strongest one, it's identifying what it is that you're missing. What do you feel is missing from your life and your sexual health? And deciding what is the best one. I also want to just add one quick thing about a personal experience that I had this past weekend. So I've been microdosing the PT141 for a few weeks now. And when I say microdosing, I am talking little tiny, tiny amounts. And I got lazy in my injection on Saturday. I got very lazy. In other words, instead of looking at this precise small, I normally do 8 units, which on a syringe, if anybody is doing this, is like it's a hair, it's a fractional amount. And when I was pulling into the syringe, there was a little bubble in there, which is normal. And you get rid of the bubble before you inject, no big deal, you flick it out. But when I was pulling the peptide into the syringe, I was kind of like, that looks about right, knowing I had to get the bubble out. So I pulled it back, popped out the bubble. And when I popped out the bubble, my what was left in the syringe was 11 units. So I'd been doing 8, I did 11. Tiny, tiny change
Yeah,
for
tiny
a
changes.
tiny amount. But I'm going to tell you what my body response was to that tiny little change was massive and not necessarily in a good way. So for me, not being lazy and not doing what I should have done and being very irresponsible and just lackadaisical. Within an hour of that injection, so I remember if you think back, I said that the onset of this can be an hour, but it's gradual, 4 to 6 being the peak signaling. Like an hour in, I started flushing. I had a sensation in my abdomen that was very uncomfortable and tight feeling. I got dizzy and nauseous. It was not a good time, and I broke out when I was soaking wet in a sweat, and it went away in a couple of minutes, and then it cycled for an hour. Every time it cycled around 5 minutes or 10 minutes through, every time it got a little bit less. That was my fault, but it shows the power of these peptides. I wasn't in any danger. That is a normal response because I turned on all these signaling pathways in the body.
Your communication was going quickly.
It was on fire. And so the point of me sharing this story is, one, we don't need to go to the extreme. This is why microdosing any peptides or finding what your body needs is really important. Starting slow and low is a very good idea so that you cannot experience uncomfortable symptoms. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a danger point, but it was my body saying, hello, yes, we're working and we're working extra hard now. We don't know what to do with all this. So take it seriously. These are prescriptions. These are not
Mhm.
supplements. So you really need
This
to
is the
listen
good
to
stuff.
yeah, what your provider is telling you and how to use it, do it. That was a very irresponsible thing for me to do and just be so like, what's a couple
Well,
more?
I think it brings up a good point because I mean, I was going to post today that's like, what's the most controversial thing right now? Peptides. Tell me something's better. Like, prove me wrong. That's the most controversial thing right now because so many people take too high of doses
Mm-hmm.
and then side effects happen.
Yeah.
And when it's reality, like you just said, 8 versus 11 units, your 11 was too high, 8 is the sweet spot. So if you've had a side effect with peptides or you've heard of side effects with peptides, which I guarantee you have, then the dosage is just too high.
Yeah.
Ozempic, Wegovy, all the things, they're really high doses.
Yeah. Well, they
Microdosing is
get
a
to
whole
really,
nother
they
story.
titrate up, they start at a bigger dose and titrate up really quickly when we're talking about standard dosing and what those pens do, and you can't maneuver, right? So everything that you and I are working with and where we're referring with telemedicine, these are all coming with a prescription with the amount of what you should do, but they are syringes you're loading yourself so you can back off from that. If
Yes.
you take a dose or it's too much or you're afraid of that full dose, you do have the ability to load that and go slower and lower, which is always what I would do. I have to be careful how I say that because I'm not anybody's prescriber and I don't have those rights, but I just think we want to be closer to what the body naturally produces on its own without pushing and making these heavy signals. Also matters like when you're mathing. If you walk into a doctor's office right now, there has to be some standard of care, right? I understand that there has to be a prescription written with some sort of level of standard of care to be able to adapt that for individual needs. But if you were to walk into a doctor's office with your spouse to get this PT-141, for example, because that's what we're talking about, your prescription is probably going to be written exactly the same, but you're two totally different body types, needs, sizes. So working with what we're doing, compound pharmacies and providers that allow you to do that allow you for a little bit more the individual need versus going out, if you're talking GLPs where it's a preloaded pen and you can barely adjust that. There's some adjustment, but there's barely any adjustment to that. It's important.
Yeah, so this month we've been focusing on the sexual wellness peptide,
Mhm.
PT141, in addition to the lozenge, which is called the thrill pill, and then the brand new nasal spray, which is called ELATE. Um, Now, I saw this on Facebook and I just want to read it. I saw this posted by many people. So it says, one of the biggest shifts I see in relationships is when women stop waiting and start leading when it comes to intimacy. Not just performing for their partner, not just saying yes when asked, actually initiating. Prioritizing connection and making space for pleasure, not because it's on a checklist, but because they understand what it does for their relationship and for themselves. And here's the part most women don't want to hear. If libido has felt distance, that's yours to address. And you can either choose to feel shame or choose to feel empowered by that. I have seen women with perfect hormone labs who still struggle with desire. I have seen women with messy, complicated hormones who prioritize intimacy anyways and have deeply satisfying sex lives. Because desire isn't just hormonal, it's relational. It lives in your nervous system. It's about feeling resourced enough, safe enough, soft enough to actually want to lean in. When a woman leads intimacy, something shifts in the whole relationship. Resentment drops, polarity returns, connection deepens, and life outside the bedroom gets easier in ways that are hard to explain until you experience it. Sex stops feeling like another thing on the list. It becomes the fuel to your fire in life. For women who want a little extra support and feeling more responsive, the telehealth platform we are partnered with has really cool 3 products as we've discussed. So I want to encourage you, if you are listening to this and you've been, on that fence, like, should I not? Thinking about myself, should I not? Uh, what have you got to lose? Try it anyways, go for it, and then just see, not only does the sexual wellness and the sexual part of your relationship change, but then how does that affect the rest of your relationship? And women, if you got a lead, go for it. I will tell you that one of the conversations we had with Monica a couple of weeks ago, now that you guys all know her from the past episode, was that Andrew wanted me to lead more. He's like, I start at 99% of the time. And and she was like, "Well, that's pretty normal for most people." But he's like, "It would mean the world to me if she wanted it and initiated it first." So I've taken the feedback and I've initiated it a couple of different times, and it is a game changer. It like it changes how he goes about his day. Jessica, I cannot tell you how much money has landed in the mailbox for that man in the last 3 weeks? And then I know I've alluded to this in our conversations in other places, but sexual energy is the same energy frequency as money. And when I learned this, I'm like, wait a second, I can actually attract more money if I have sex more? Game. Like, I am so game for that. And
My
then
husband and I just went to the boat show the other day, so maybe because we're dreaming about a new
ours is
boat
the
for
hunting
down in
expo.
Florida.
It's the
There we
same
go.
thing for
Like,
you. Hunting expo for us, boat show for you guys, same thing.
oh man.
So there's
Well,
that aspect of like, use it. I mean, if that's your motivation, go for it. Like, just get started. And then the other factor is when you are intimate, you are receiving, as especially as you said a couple minutes ago, when you're like, we literally open up and allow somebody inside of us, that's receiving.
mhm.
That is a very, very, very strong money energy as well. That receiving energy. So I don't
I
know if you needed something to tip you over the fence line.
over the
Maybe that's
edge.
it. Maybe that's
I
it.
I
So
I re-listened to the just this afternoon. I was re-listening to the conversation we had with Monica, and she mentioned something too that it in having more sexual intimacy also increases your creative flow.
yes,
So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing too. So if you feel kind of stuck in your life or you don't know what your next your next journey is, increasing your intimacy is going to probably trickle down in many ways, right? It's going to strengthen your relationship with your partner. It's probably going to trickle into other relationships because you feel good. Your ego feels good. You feel loved. You feel confident. It's going to trickle down into how you treat your children. As you said, it could be in the same frequency as money. It could attract that. But also if it's tapping into this creative side, I don't see any downsides to any of this. So if we need help getting there, we have these three options to help support. And now that we understand the metabolic reasons behind it, how it's driven, how stress and hormones and lifestyle and all of the things can impact that, and we have tools that can help us, something that our body normally does. Tadalafil is obviously not, is the one exception that is not something we naturally create, but everything else is stuff that we naturally create. So why not?
Yeah, why not? Do we want to share as we conclude here what free stuff we got for them and how they can get it?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bonus that I have created for people. So there's a lot of people that are sitting in this world of peptides. What are they? Where do I start? I don't know. I hear the negative, all of that. So I created
Scared
a
because of the negative.
Yes, exactly. So I created a guide. It's called the Peptide Starter Guide. It is a starter guide that is geared a little bit different than what we just talked about. It is more geared towards the GLPs. But this is going to talk about microdosing versus standard dosing. It's what peptides really are. The foundations that amplify that, because no matter what you're doing when it comes to using these peptides, your foundational health still matters, but people don't know necessarily what that means. So this is going to guide you. What are those base foundations you need to be working on to get good results? So how do you nourish your body? How do you move your body? How do you protect your muscles that you've heard so much about wasting? It also has in there what to expect, some common roadblocks, some simple troubleshooting if you're on there. And then it also has your next steps. So if you go through all this because you've been on the fence, and you don't know what your next steps are, it has next steps how to move forward in a peptide journey. So that's the freebie that I've got for people, and it's pretty awesome. It's like 10 or 12 pages of awesomeness, if I do say so.
There's a reason why we've hesitated for several weeks now because we want to get these freebies right. We want to give something that's worth absolute gold to you guys. In fact, the freebie that I have for you is only free until February 28th. After that, it's going to be $88. I have alluded to a mini blood work and peptides guide. Several of you probably have it already. This is the complete blood work and peptides guide. Like I said, it is only free until February 28th, 2026. After that is going to be $88. Now, how do we get these things to them? That's the fun part. We have loved doing this podcast. If you are not aware, we were going to just make it a limited series and shut up after the first, 20 episodes, but we can't. We have to keep talking about this stuff and sharing what we learned, sharing these stories that we're hearing, and then hopefully inviting you guys in such a positive manner that you will come join us, whether you're taking peptides yourself or you're doing this as the business aspect too. But either way, we are going to keep these episodes going and we would love to receive some feedback. So if you can go on to whatever podcast listening app that you love, sign in, review our podcast, and then subscribe. Take a screenshot of that. And if you like Instagram, go message Jess on Instagram. If you like Facebook, come message me on Facebook. Those direct links will be in the show notes. Share with us your screenshot, and we will then in turn give you these 2 free guides and spark a conversation to see how we can help you achieve your goals, whether you're wanting to take the peptides or whether you're wanting to incorporate them into a business. Either way. Okay, so once again, that is the peptide starter kit, correct, Jess?
Yep. Yep.
And then the complete blood work and peptides guide. Those are free till the end of this month. And to get that, you'll need to leave a review for our podcast and subscribe to it. Screenshot that so we have proof of your review and the subscribe. Share it with us inside Instagram for Jess, Facebook for me. Message us, don't post, message us, which we will share with you the direct links and we can get you guys the guides.
These
Okay?
are guides you don't
So,
want to miss.
no, free stuff coming at you for a limited time. And if you've been on the fence about getting the thrill pill, the ELATE spray, maybe the PT-141, or maybe if you're making a decision like me, I hate nasal sprays. I'm terrified of the injections, which I'm probably just a wuss. So thrill pill it is. Let's go get them. So you're going to be like me and put yourself a deadline. Like, let's say by the end of this upcoming week, you're going to purchase your stuff. I'll hold myself accountable too. You hold yourself accountable. And then let's see what happens, not only in our relationship and our day to day life, and how that affects our day to day lives as a couple and as a family. And then we would love to hear your stories too. So thank you guys for joining us. And we will just drop episodes when we feel like it and have some fun along the way. All right. Jess, tell them your Instagram handle.
My Instagram, Jess B as in boy, Jess B underscore LMT underscore NC.
Where can they get peptides from you?
Site, which is B2B with Jess.com/peptides.
Perfect. And if you're grabbing peptides from me, the link is drkylieburton.com. If you would like to get started as an affiliate, same thing. And if you heard this from somebody else, like someone who's trying to talk to you about peptides themselves, maybe your own practitioner, health coach, whatever it may be, go back and get the links from them. And we would love to see you join us on our sexual wellness journey. In March, we will be discussing another topic, which I'm excited, really, really excited about. We're going to start talking labs and I'll give you a little hint, autoimmune. So this is Pep Talk, Peptides Unpacked. See you soon.